E3 was this week. We watched it. We watched it together. I was really excited to watch press conferences with other people, which is probably the nerdiest thing I've ever been excited for.
I have never sat down and watched this kind of thing before. E3 comes and it goes, and I sort of see the news headlines, and that's my involvement in it. But this was actually kind of a lot of fun. We hung out, took a day off from work. We watched them, and they were far more entertaining than I thought they would be. Not the dancing stuff, notwithstanding.
Right. So anything that wasn't the EA press conference.
Yeah, the dancing and the EA Sports, that was
brutal.
A little much. But the rest of it, and the Microsoft one, I thought, Microsoft, they're gonna be a bunch of goofballs. No, they pulled it together.
No, this was
good.
This was probably the best Microsoft E3 media briefing that I've ever seen. So you picked a good one to start watching.
Yeah, and I thought the what was it? Ubisoft.
Yeah,
they had a good one too.
They did have a good one. I liked Aisha Tyler as the moderator.
Yeah, she was sassy.
She was sassy. A lot of people got on her case because she swore so much, but screw those guys.
She swore like 3 times.
Yeah, I'm okay. There was 100 swear words in the Far Cry 3 trailer right before she got on there. Nobody was like, too much swearing in Far Cry. She got up there and dropped an F-bomb, and everybody was outraged.
So, at E3 this year, they did show off a couple of co-op games.
Yeah, were you excited about any of them?
I had already seen the video they showed of The Division, Tom Clancy's The Division.
That seems like such an unnecessary tack on.
Yeah. I had already watched the video that they showed, or something very similar to that. I'm really excited for it. It looks like fun. Looks like they put a lot of effort into the world building. It looks like there's a lot going on in terms of tactics, and those are the games I really like, when you have to sort of like think your way through an attack situation, which to some degree is why Halo appeals to me. There's a lot of different options for approaching a situation. The Division, and it's a lot of teamwork. It seems very teamwork based, which is fun. I guess the only thing that worries me is, like, in the video you're watching, they've got 4 people and they're part of the team. But what if it's just you and your friend? Do you just have CPUs for the other 2 characters? Do you bring in strangers? We'll see how it goes.
Probably that you bring in strangers, but I find that never works well.
It's never as much fun.
It went all right for Left 4 Dead, but that might be the only one that's ever gone okay with. Like Borderlands, the idea of bringing strangers is just the worst idea I could think of.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I wasn't excited about The Division at all. I know you were, but that trailer made it look real good.
It looked good. It looked like there was a real attention to detail. They have a plot. We'll see how well that works out. But that's what I was excited for. What about you, Greg? Were there any that you saw that really caught your eye?
There were a few. I posted a tweet about how excited I was about Evolve, but we won't go into that. The one that surprised me the most, though, was Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
I kind of written that series off. I bought Assassin's Creed 3, hated it, thought it was the worst.
What was the setting for 3? I get they all sort of run together.
That was the American Revolution.
Okay. The concept sounded amazing.
No, I know. I would agree with that.
Isn't your character like half Native American or full Native American or something?
He's half Native American.
Yeah. He's got like a hatchet and stuff, and yeah, it sounds like fun.
There was cool aspects to the game. The game evolved into something that didn't interest me anymore. I recently bought Assassin's Creed 4 for the PS4, but I haven't gotten a chance to play it yet.
That's the pirate one, right?
Yeah, I have a hunch it's going to sit on my shelf for a really long time. But they added this very cool-looking multiplayer to Assassin's Creed, and I think that
where it looks like you can have up to 4 total assassins working together,
and that's cool. I mean, the demo looked really cool. It seemed fun to have a stealth mechanic with other people.
Yeah.
And Assassin's Creed takes a very liberal approach on stealth, but that's kind of what I want. Real stealth games tend to annoy me.
And it's set during the French Revolution. That's kind of an interesting choice.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
I think France lends itself well to that kind of thing. Whereas, in Assassin's Creed 3, Boston and early New York and everything, that was not particularly interesting.
I feel like you got to be a little bit more of it. Like, being an archaeologist, and I work in New York State, I was kind of interested in it for that reason. But I feel like you got to be kind of a history nerd to appreciate that one a little bit more.
Also, it's just a lot of 2-story buildings. Which, when you're kind of a building climber,
gets boring.
It's boring. So
I think we'll know the series has come to an end when they start covering the Spanish-American War.
The War of 1812.
Yep.
Where nothing happened. They wrote the Star Spangled Banner. I guess that's something. Assassin's Creed.
They
Star
burned down the
Spangled
White
Banner.
House.
That's true. They did.
That'd be a fun scene in a video game.
No, it wouldn't. Only if you're doing the burning, I guess. You play as the British.
Sure, why not?
Theme song.
Podcast theme music, go.
So welcome, Player 2, press start. I am killagreg. You can find me at killagreg17.
I'm Dan. You can find me at BogroD.
This week
on Twitter.
You can find us at Player 2, PLAYRTWO. That's where we do most of our Twitter communications. This week we are doing a Mario Kart retrospective. Mario Kart 8 just came out. I was planning on focusing mostly on that, but I think it's actually would be better suited to just sort of go through the series, talk about our experiences with it, and discuss how the series evolved through the years. Because at this point, Mario Kart's 22 years old?
Yeah, it started in 1992.
That's crazy.
That's a long time.
That's a very long time.
Debuted on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, and we didn't... For this retrospective, we didn't get a chance to really play the Super Nintendo one. I thought I had a copy of it, and it turns out I don't, which makes me wonder where my copy of Mario Kart went. But do you want to talk about just your original Mario Kart experience?
Well, I did. You are correct. We did not get to play. However, I did look up a couple of Let's Plays and watch some videos to sort of refresh myself a little bit. And I didn't fully remember how odd the graphics were. Because I think in my head sometimes when I think of Mario Kart, I think of Mario Kart 64 kind of being the start of the series. And I know it's not, but it's the one, it's the first 3D one. It sticks in my head the most.
In my brain, I remember playing Mario Kart 64 before Super Mario Kart. I don't know if I actually did or not, but to me, the starting point was Mario Kart 64.
It definitely... It revolutionized that series. Do you want to talk about the graphics, the way that worked for the Super Nintendo?
It's not.
It's kind of it's like artificial 3D.
Yeah. So most people, I think, are familiar with Mode 7, which was a processing technique that the Super Nintendo had, and it's just very interesting how they made those initial racing games.
Are there other games that also use that technique?
They all do,
okay.
Just to different effect.
Okay. Is there a good example that you could
reference?
Yeah,
a couple original examples were ActRaiser, when you were ascending from heaven down to the planet to start fighting other stuff. There was that spinning effect. Pilot Wings, that used that when you were descending, and that all used Mode 7. Some very classic ones, the intro to Final Fantasy VI, where the mechs are walking across the world, or the rotating corridor in Super Castlevania. Those are sort of the classic examples of using Mode 7 for different things.
What about for racing?
Yeah, F-Zero was the original one that really used it to its advantage. And then Mario Kart, which it's just interesting how they could use different techniques to create the illusion of depth.
And it works pretty well. I mean, the game, some Super Nintendo games definitely hold up really well. They have sort of a cartoony style, and they look great, and they'll kind of get a pass forever as being kind of a retro 8-bit style, and they'll be fine because of it. But so the Super Nintendo version, it kind of looks a little choppy. It looks a little odd. Especially like during turns and when like you hit the grass and the power-up blocks that you go over and everything. Like, everything about it doesn't look quite as good as I remembered.
It's almost like a sticker moving over. Like, what are those toys from the 50s where like there would be a rotating track and you would move the steering wheel and it would really just be like a little plastic piece that would go back and forth over it. That's sort of how Mario Kart works. And looks.
It's. I mean, I think every attempt at 3D earlier on always is a little kind of ugh when you go back. Like a lot of N64 games, you're just like, wow, that looks so bad. At the time, you're like, oh, this is crazy fun. But looking back at it now, you're like, that's pretty rough.
Yeah, especially the Nintendo 64.
Especially the N64.
The PlayStation, while having less processing power per se, it sort of pulls off that 3D a little bit better.
Yeah.
But barely.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the N64 made everything look muddy and cloudy. The PlayStation, while it still didn't look great, at least everything was crisp. You know, think about Crash Bandicoot.
I kind of feel like the exact opposite.
No.
Yeah.
Why?
Like, I think of, like, Final Fantasy VII and Star Wars The Phantom Menace. Those are, like, you can barely tell what's going on. But when I think of the N64, are you talking about, like, 3D rendering only? I guess those really didn't have as much. Am I doing apples to oranges and not realizing
I don't know. The sprites, they're not sprites, but you know what I'm talking about. The character models in Final Fantasy VII, they were just triangles on top of triangles, but at least those triangles were very clearly defined. You could tell one triangle from another triangle.
Yeah, but like take Super Mario 64. That's a crisp game. Everything about that is very like defined. I mean, it's very polygony, but
I would say Mario 64 is the exception to the rule. Think about a game like what's a good example? Castlevania 64.
I haven't played that.
The draw distance is about 3 feet ahead of you. One muddy object blends into another muddy object.
Well, what about Pilot Wing 64? That one looks great. That's just like Super Mario 64.
I think first-party Nintendo properties are excluded from this conversation.
All right, fine. That's fine.
Because Nintendo is the only person who ever knows how to make good games on their systems. Why don't we move on to Mario Kart 64?
All right.
Because we didn't...
That was the first one we played.
Right. That was the first one we played.
For the purposes of this podcast, that's the first one we were able to actually play.
And it's the first one I played, as far as I remember. So what are your overall impressions of Mario Kart 64?
Not a lot of characters. Kind of have been spoiled with the more recent games.
Yeah, there was 8?
Yeah. The basics. Levels are super long.
Crazy long. We're talking like 5 or 6 minute laps here.
Yeah. I remember when we first realized it because we went through and we were just hitting the second lap and I was thinking that was going to be the end of the race. And it's like, oh, second lap. And I was like, oh, we're going to be here a while.
It was ridiculous. And it's actually a little disheartening because if you're in last place, you're going to stay in last place for a while and you still have like another 10 minutes of racing.
Yeah.
It's not a ton of fun if you're losing.
No, there's not as many power-ups. That's something that definitely changes over the course of the entire series, which we'll touch on more, I'm sure. So there's not a lot of opportunities to kind of get a leg up if you've screwed up. But the levels are pretty good.
Yeah.
The one that always stands out the most for me is Toad's Turnpike. I just, for some reason, the thought of like being on a road with actual cars always intrigued me. So that one I always had a good time with, and I totally trounced you when we played that one.
No.
Yeah, no. Toad's Turnpike, I kicked your ass at that one.
Oh, maybe. Dan's way better at Mario Kart than I am.
Which is sad because I'm not very good.
No, I think you are pretty good. I don't know. At the very least, I'm used to being competitive with you. And I don't think I was until we got to Mario Kart 8.
Yeah.
And that's only because I think I have more experience with it.
Could be.
Yeah, you did. You kicked my ass a lot. I didn't enjoy that.
No, I could tell. But it's so rare I get to beat you at a game. Usually I'm typically coming in second place when we're doing stuff. So.
Maybe. The level that stands out for me with Mario Kart 64 is Wario's Arena.
Is that the BMX dirt bike thing? Or whatever it is?
I wish they had motocross.
Yeah.
I wish they had more levels like that. There's always one sort of, BMX type level in each one, but I want more jumps and stuff. They're so much fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to be going over little moguls and stuff like that.
But I want real jumps. I don't want hey, hit this boost and then the game is just going to throw you across the map to the next spot. You don't have any control in the air.
Yeah,
I want actual little jumps where you can sort of do stuff
right.
and have fun with it.
Right, which is something I really enjoy about Mario Kart 8 when we get there. So the thing I took away from Mario Kart 64 is that it felt really fast. Especially compared to the other ones. The whole Mario Kart thing is that it's sort of slow, fun for you and your friends. You're not going to get too overwhelmed. But I felt like I was just blazing in Mario Kart 64.
Mario Kart 8 felt a little slow to me.
Yeah.
If you don't have any power-ups and there's no boosts or no jumps or anything like that, I feel like you're really
I agree with
chugging.
That. I think over the years they've sort of
slowed it down.
Toned it down a bit.
Yeah.
I mean, did you get that same impression out of Mario Kart 64?
I don't remember. It's too many games. We've played so much Mario.
It is a lot. Eventually, they sort of start to blend into each other because, unlike some other series, the core mechanics of these games has remained very similar.
Yeah.
The difference between the first, Super Mario Kart is completely
it's kind of in a different league.
That's the anomaly.
Yeah.
The difference between 64 and Mario Kart 8 is
minimal,
negligible.
Yeah. I mean, graphics.
Right.
Graphics, power-ups, but other than that, everything else is the same. I mean, the concept is the same. It has power-ups, multiple characters. I mean, it's largely the same game, just refreshed for each generation.
It's kind of like shopping at Walmart.
Yeah.
You walk into one Walmart in New York City, and then you go to a different Walmart in Los Angeles. The experience is primarily the same. Just a bunch of fat people buying a lot of mayonnaise getting in your way.
Yeah.
It looks different, but it's the same. So the next Mario Kart that we went through was Double Dash, which is most people's favorite Mario Kart, which is not something I ever agreed with. Do you remember playing Double Dash previous to when we played it?
This was the first time I'd ever played it. I was aware of it. I was aware of all the hoopla about the blue sparks. Penny Arcade made a lot of discussion about it at the time, a lot of comics. I feel like they referenced it enough where it kind of stuck in my head, oh, this is the game with the blue sparks.
I could be incorrect, but I'm pretty sure most Mario Kart purists, and yes, there are those out there, they think Double Dash is sort of the epitome of the Mario Kart franchise. I could not disagree more. I hate Double Dash. I hate it with a fiery passion. The tracks are ridiculously boring. They are totally uninspired. They have one track, and I can't even believe it. It's just a circle. I mean, it's not even a big circle. It's just a little circle. And you just fly around. And to make it more interesting, they made it 7 laps instead of the 3 on that level. But I don't know. The tracks always felt really uninspired to me. And with Double Dash, so the gimmick of Double Dash is that you have 2 riders. You have a driver and then a passenger that you can switch back and forth between. What that enables essentially is for you to be able to hold double power-ups.
If your character has a power-up and you don't want to use it, you can just put him in reserve and switch to the other driver.
And then pick up a second power-up.
Right.
The problem that this creates is that the maps are very small, and because there are double the power-ups everywhere, there's just
a constant barrage.
A constant barrage of, shells and bananas and bullets and all this stuff everywhere.
Yeah. It's insane.
And maybe that's why people like it. Maybe real Mario Kart players want a more extreme experience out of Mario Kart. But
zany.
Yeah, but I think that defeats the purpose of the series.
I feel like there's a balance that you have to reach between just straight racing and adding in the goofy stuff, like running over a banana peel. Like, you have to strike a balance between those two so that it's not it's not extremely ridiculous, but it's also not boring.
I will say, and this might be sort of sacrilege to somebody who generally enjoys Mario Kart, I don't love the power-ups. And I understand that is a core mechanic of the series, but to me, and I think this is why Dan is so much better at it, I think you're just a more strategic power-up user than I am. I tend to get stuff, and then one of two things happens. I either forget about it and then hold on to it too long, or I use it right away, and when I should have saved it.
There's pretty much two types of power-ups. Useful ones and useless ones. It seems like there's very little in between. And it seems like it's gotten even worse in Mario Kart 8 with the coins. Like, don't give me a coin. Give me something I can attack somebody
That is
with.
infuriating.
Like,
at least give me a banana.
Yeah. The coins drove me nuts because it's like it's hard enough to hit the power up in the first place, and then to not get anything out of it. I mean, the coins, I know they serve a purpose, but on the map, I mean, I'm playing at your house. I'm never going to play it again, and that doesn't do me any good. But there are certain power-ups that are insanely useful, like 3 red turtle shells. You have guaranteed yourself some success for a period of time in that map. 1 banana peel? Nope. And there's in Mario Kart 8, they've got that horn or whatever that you can use to fend off stuff. Is it the blue turtle shell that fends off? Or?
It fends off anything, but you will only get the horn if you are pretty high up.
Okay. And
if you're in first place, the blue turtle shell will ruin your day.
Yeah, we played a map where I held on to that for a long time based on your recommendation, and then I screwed something up and ended up bad. Like I didn't get blue turtle shelled. Just didn't get a chance to use it and screwed up, and then I was down in 5th place and couldn't recover. And if I had shells, for example, I could have used them when I started falling behind to regain my position. So they add in weird stuff, strange options. Some are more helpful than others. The red turtle shells, though, man, I love those.
They're the best.
Shells. They are so useful.
They're so useful. So, what was your general impression of Double Dash?
It was a little too wacky for my opinion, or for my taste. I liked how they kind of matched up comparable characters. Having Yoshi and Birdo together is fun, and that's not a mix that I would necessarily think of in my head. But this has kind of become a theme in all of the games more lately, or more recently, where they have a lot of matching characters like Daisy and Peach, or Baby Mario and Baby Luigi, or Wario and Waluigi. That's fun. I think that's kind of like a fun thing to do. I like the character choices. They've definitely started adding a lot more characters in, which I think makes it more fun, especially when it gives something to unlock. I find unlocking levels kind of annoying. I don't want to do that. I want to unlock characters. Like, give me access to everything. I want to play maps.
Yeah, I always have a weird relationship with stuff like that, where I think they're sort of protecting the player in a way. Guitar Hero used to do this, where you couldn't just put Guitar Hero in and play any song in the game.
Mm-hmm.
You had to unlock them in the story mode, and you could only unlock them in sets of 5. And once you finish 5, you'd unlock another 5. Once you finish 5, you unlock another 5. I think they do that so you don't put in Guitar Hero 1 the first time, load up Bark at the Moon because it's your favorite song. Even on easy, it's going to kick your ass, and then you never play Guitar Hero again. And I feel like this takes a similar approach. If somebody's like, oh, here's Mario Kart, it's the best game of all time, check it out. You put it in, your 6-year-old, little sister wants to play with you. She's like, Rainbow Road looks great. You play Rainbow Road, you're sending Princess Peach out into space every 4 seconds. You're like, this game's awful, I'm never going to play it again.
Yeah, I guess I don't know how it works in all of them. I guess I'm thinking of the DS version specifically. And maybe all the maps are unlocked at the 50cc level. I don't actually remember now.
I don't know.
I know at the 100 and 150cc levels, Some of the maps are locked and you can't get access to them. You gotta like complete certain stuff to get access to them. I don't really enjoy that.
No, I understand that. I'm a big proponent of player choice. If somebody wants to play a hard difficulty, mark it somewhere. Be like, hey, this is a 5-star map. If you want to do it, go ahead, but you're not going to enjoy yourself.
Good luck.
Yeah. But I understand where they're coming from at least. Any final thoughts on Double Dash?
It was a little too much for me.
Yeah.
With the I didn't like the two characters. I am not, and this sort of gets into a point I think you might touch on at some point today, is the hardware. I really just don't care for the GameCube controller. Interesting
thing, though, out of all of the controllers we played with, I actually enjoyed the GameCube controller the most for Double Dash. I really like the way the trigger feels. When you push it in all the way, it has this sort of locking feel to it. And I thought that enabled me to power slide very effectively. However, at the same time, you would switch drivers with the Z button, which is right above the trigger, which is super tiny, and I don't think has ever worked well on a GameCube controller that I've owned. So, even though I liked it for one thing, it was pretty awful for the other one.
Yeah, I'd say probably the classic controller for the Wii U.
Yeah,
was probably my favorite.
Well, actually, it was the classic controller for the Wii. We were using it for the Wii U. I haven't tried Mario Kart with that one yet, so maybe that would be it. So the next one would be the DS version.
What about the Game Boy Advanced?
I didn't play that.
I didn't play either.
I'm almost 100% positive the Game Boy Advance version is an updated version of Super Mario Kart.
Okay.
I don't know that for sure. I could be wrong, and there's probably 4 people out there saying, "Greg, you're an idiot. I'm never listening to this podcast again." But I'm pretty sure it's just a remake.
If that is in fact the case, we would prefer you tell us that on Twitter and then keep listening to correct us in the future.
Yeah, right, we don't mind public reprimands.
So, as you mentioned, the next one is the Nintendo DS version. This was the first one that we actually played for this retrospective podcast, and we had a shit ton of fun. It was so much fun.
We did have a lot of fun. Dan had more fun than me because he won.
Oh man, I really did win a lot. I really enjoyed the multiplayer and how easily it worked with the DS. Like, we just sat on a couch and played some Mario Kart.
It was also nice, and this is how am I going to say this? A cool feature that the DS has is that if you want to play multiplayer with somebody, only one person has to have the cart.
Yeah.
That is such a cool feature.
I was looking at other games, and it looks like if both people have the game, what you're capable, not specifically with Mario Kart, just in general, what you're capable of doing is increased if you both have the cartridge, and it's less if only one of you has it. But I like the fact that they still let you do something.
Right, and that's nice and surprising.
Yeah.
Nowadays, and granted that was 8 years ago or something, nowadays I feel like no. Could you imagine EA doing that?
No.
Like, hey, if only one person has this, one person has Madden, why don't you both play? No problem.
Yeah.
EA would never do that.
That does feel like a very Nintendo thing to do.
Although, quickly going back to E3, this was in the PlayStation press conference. For Far Cry 3, there is actually some gameplay that if you have Far Cry 4, and I don't, I can still do stuff in your game and help you in like a co-op way. That is so cool. And it seemed like a pretty prominent thing too. Like in the demo they had, one person was the main character. The other guy was like flying a helicopter around, and he was picking up the main character, and he was shooting elephants and stuff. It was rad.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah. So maybe I don't give people enough credit. Ubisoft is doing it, but it still seems just like a foreign idea to me. I hope they kind of bring something like that back.
I hope they do too.
Fingers crossed, because I don't want to spend any more money.
Also connected to our sort of underlying discussion here of Nintendo hardware is, so while we did have a lot of fun playing the DS version, so I've got the DS Lite. That thing's a little uncomfortable to hold. And,
yeah.
I mean, partly is the fact that I've grown up man hands, but, I'm not a little, 12-year-old kid playing it.
Starting with the DS, a little bit with the GameCube, but mostly the DS. they started making their D-pads so insanely tiny.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. Oh, Nintendo is so weirdly stubborn with certain things. They refuse to put a second analog joystick until the Wii U. And I will point out, the Wii U can only use one of those tablets. Everyone else still has to use the crappy Wiimotes, which only have one analog stick and that tiny D-pad. My fingers are too big for it. And again, I mean, we're 30. Maybe, God, I can't pick up this pen. We're 30. Maybe we're not the core demographic of Nintendo.
Well, then make grown-up controllers.
And that's the underlying issue with a lot of Nintendo problems at the moment. The core gaming community isn't 12 anymore. No. And yes, there is a part of the gaming populace that is 12. They do need smaller controllers or whatever. But Nintendo is failing as a business because they're ignoring the fact that 24 to 32 is the biggest gaming demographic. They need to make games for adults.
Yeah.
And they refuse.
I kind of feel like part of it is the fact that I've changed because I've gotten older. But, I started with Nintendo. The NES was the first system I got. Super Nintendo was the second. And for a long time, it was like, I'm a Nintendo person. Now, I wouldn't even remotely consider myself a Nintendo person. I mean, I'm still vaguely interested in them in the most minimal sense. But I feel like they've kind of turned their back on me as a fan of their product. Because they've been so stubbornly focused on making games for younger people.
Their nostalgia is starting to wear very thin.
Yeah.
It can only get you so far anymore. Because at this point, I'm beginning to be more nostalgic for newer games than I am for older games. I have many more fond memories of playing a Halo than I do playing Mario 64.
Yeah. It's sort of like trails behind you by like 10 to 15 years. And as you're getting older, that's kind of that distance away from the current time period is continuing. And so Mario and Nintendo and all that's kind of like falling by the wayside because you're not playing it as much.
Right. And this is something I'll bring up a little bit more as we get into Mario Kart 8. But I just have a passing interest in Nintendo games. They need to come up with a new property soon. Can you remember the last time Nintendo came up with a new thing?
I mean, honestly, when I think Nintendo, I think Mario, Link, Bowser, Wario. I mean, I guess maybe Waluigi is one of the newer ones, and he's not that new. And that's just a ripoff of Wario.
The last games I think of that are still new are Pikmin.
Okay.
And Animal Crossing. Yeah. But that was GameCube. So the last new intellectual properties they came up with were for the GameCube. That's not a good way to succeed. And I understand, Activision does it too. Call of Duty 15 coming out this summer.
Yeah.
But
look at how many new things we saw. We saw Evolve.
That's right.
We saw The Division. I mean, I know it's a Tom Clancy thing, but this is totally different.
But it's completely new. I mean, it's just a Tom Clancy at the front.
Just brand it with Tom Clancy. It doesn't mean anything.
Right. Those are all new stuff. People need to try new stuff, and Nintendo isn't. Although they did announce a game yesterday that looks real interesting to me. It's borderline indescribable. I'm going to try, but I don't know if I'm going to succeed. You are a squid person. And it's, from what I can tell, all multiplayer. You play in arenas. You shoot paint throughout the entire arena. Where there is paint, you can swim through the paint. So, like, the arena starts out white. You start off by just painting as much as you can, and then you sort of play capture the flag type games. But the other team is also painting their color. So they can paint over where you have, and your mobility out of the paint is very slow. But where it's painted, you can just sort of swim through with ease. It looks fascinating. So I'm hoping Nintendo can... I'm just excited to see new Nintendo properties. And this one looks very interesting. I'll show you a video later if you're interested.
Sure. It seems like Nintendo really needs their Halo. Like, Halo put Xbox on the map. They need that for this current generation.
Yeah.
They need something.
They're also being so stupidly stubborn about things. There are Nintendo properties that people want to play, and they just will not. Make a new Earthbound game. You know, it took them 15 years to put Earthbound out on the Wii U, the virtual console, for no other reason than they were just being stubborn idiots.
I know you, because we mentioned the other day, you're not a huge fan of it, but I loved it. I would love to see a new Pilot Wings.
Yeah.
I mean, whether you love it or you hate it, it was a unique game.
That's exactly it.
There hasn't been a new one since the N64. Correct? That's the last one I remember. Pilot Wings 64. It was put it in 3D. I mean, there's only 2 games.
I think there was a Pilot Wings for the Wii.
Was there?
Yeah. If I'm wrong about this, I'll edit this out. I believe there was a Pilot Wings for the Wii. But I just want Nintendo to use those properties. They just announced a new Star Fox. That's great. They need to do more stuff like that. Make a new Metroid. All that stuff. What?
I found out about Pilot Wings.
Okay.
So there was Pilot Wings for the Super Nintendo, Pilot Wings 64 for the N64, and then after many years of announcements and cancellations, Nintendo unveiled a second sequel, Pilot Wings Resort, for the Nintendo 3DS handheld at E3 2010, which was released in 2011.
That's what it was. I get confused sometimes between the Wii U or the Wii and the 3DS because the graphics are so similar.
I can't imagine that would be a ton of fun on a 3DS. I feel like the screen is too small for that kind of game. It's a big, expansive, flying, open-world game. I'm assuming that is what it is anyway. That doesn't really seem like the right venue for that. Also, I feel like that would be one of the few games where you could probably work the Wii mode in and it wouldn't totally suck. Yeah. Because it's like, you know, the joystick or whatever in the cockpit or something.
It wouldn't totally suck. It would still suck.
It would still suck. Just not as much.
So, final thoughts. I know the DS version, going back to Mario Kart where we should be talking. I know the DS version was your favorite out of everything we played. Can you say why it was?
Yeah. I thought that they struck the balance that I wanted them to strike between all of the sort of different components of Mario Kart, between levels, characters, power-ups. They nailed every single one. And I could be wrong about this, but this was the first Mario Kart I had played since the GameCube version. And they had retro maps in this one. I'm not sure if this was the first game to introduce it, but I think it might have been. I loved that idea. Like, they played on that kind of retro aspect of it. They made the maps fun. They brought them back, and it was fun to play those old maps again. So I really enjoyed that. I liked kind of the nod to the earlier games. They had a couple of unlockable characters. That was enjoyable. I like that. But it wasn't like over the top, but there were like 100 of them. Power-ups. Was this the first one to introduce Bullet Bill?
I don't know.
This was the first one I played that had Bullet Bill, but I don't know if... I guess... Well, it wasn't in the GameCube version. Was it? Alright. We don't know. To me, this was the first game to have Bullet Bill, and I thought he was so much fun. For me, using him for the first time is like when you get the giant mushroom in the new Super Mario Brothers, and you just turn in this giant that just runs through the whole level, effing everything up. So much fun. So they just sort of they hit everything. Like the multiplayer worked, that was fun. The levels were fun. They had great characters. It looked good, and you know it's on the DS. You can just sort of take it with you, and you know it takes like a minute to do a lap. You know this is a game that is pretty good for taking on the go with you. For starting and stopping, and you know you can do that with the DS. So that's why I really enjoyed this game. Also, I kicked your ass a lot.
Gotta love that. So the next one that came out was the Mario Kart for the Wii. Now, this is actually pretty interesting because I think Mario Kart for the Wii is one of the best-selling games of all time. It sold so many copies and still sells copies. At my last job, even as much as 2 weeks ago, I had somebody coming in looking for it. But I
hated this one.
Yeah.
I have to keep looking at pictures to remember which Mario Kart this is. This was not a fun experience.
I hated this Mario Kart. Now, why did you hate it?
It probably mainly had to do with the Wiimote.
Yeah, I should ask that question differently. If we had a way to play Mario Kart for the Wii with
Regular
classic controllers,
yeah.
What do you think of your opinion of it would have been?
I probably would have enjoyed it more. I think this game seems somewhat similar in some ways to Mario Kart 8. It's not that much different. It probably would have been like that, just a little bit older. I probably would have been fine with it. I had a hard time controlling the character with the Wiimote. In the game's defense and the Wii's defense, I don't have a Wii. I use it sporadically. I use it like once a year at somebody else's place. I don't have much experience with it. I have never done well with having those devices like 3D. You move it around in the real world, and that controls your character in the game. I've never really done that well with those in the first place, and it didn't go well. I found like I was kind of like all over, and I had a hard time correcting problems when they happened, and that was really frustrating.
Yeah, it just felt so unintuitive.
Also, you couldn't power slide, right?
I don't know. Well, the person we were playing with, he said that we all chose motorcycles because it looked like a lot of fun. I chose the Super Scoot.
All right.
According to him, if you picked an actual cart, you might have been able to power slide.
All right.
But it was activated by shaking the Wiimote.
Yeah, like flipping it up for a second.
Yeah. The problem with that is that when you try to do that, you go all over the place.
Yeah, because it's not like you can do it like a perfect like 90-degree angle lift on it. It's going to end up all over.
Right. So with the motorcycles, instead of the power slide on straightaways, you could shake the Wiimote and you would do a little like wheelie and get a speed boost with it. Unfortunately, every single time I tried to do that, I would just veer directly into a fence.
Yeah, or go off a ledge or something.
And it was awful. It was just awful. So I think
I could see kids having more fun with that one.
And that's it. I remember playing this at I was at a Super Bowl party at a friend of mine's house in Maryland, and he had 3 younger girls that like preteen age. During halftime, nobody wanted to watch the halftime show, and they really wanted to play Mario Kart. So 4 of us got up to TV. We were playing Mario Kart. They just whooped us, and they had such a wonderful time doing it. And they loved it. They loved playing that game. So maybe it's just a generational thing. We are incapable of grasping and perfecting the use of motion controls to control your character because they had no problem with it. But it's so unintuitive to me. I never understood why. I'm gonna get old man video game Greg now.
Get off my lawn.
I don't understand why you would choose to not use a controller. It's just the perfect way to play a video game. I don't need to flap my arms to have a bird on screen flap its arms.
Yeah, or like
just make it happen.
Or on the DS, having to blow into the mic to keep your balloons blown up.
The controller is just such a perfect way to interact with a video game.
It just works.
Yes. I don't know why they needed to change it. And the Wii sold 1 billion systems. It outsold the Xbox 360 like 3-1 or something. It's an insane number. But
Nintendo was still failing.
Not at that time. Now they are. The novelty ran out. People were like, "Oh, this is like virtual reality."
Well, that's kind of what I'm getting at.
Then they realized it was crap.
Like, they sold a lot, but what's the end result of all that?
Dust. Dust gathering on a Wii.
Like, how many people's houses have you gone over to? You see that stupid little white box next to their TV. You know they're not playing it.
Nobody plays it.
Yeah.
You could knit a sweater with the amount of lint on top of my friend's Wii's.
Nice.
It upsets me that Nintendo chose that route and then stuck so firmly to it. When if they had just taken a more natural approach to video games, I think they would have still succeeded.
Or just give people the option. Just give them a regular controller and let them control the game in a regular way every time.
Right. I don't know. Old man Greg stepped down from his soapbox for a minute. Any final thoughts on Mario Kart for the Wii?
I probably would have been fine with it if it wasn't for the motion control. I just didn't care for that.
And I didn't want to take time to learn it. This was the last Mario Kart we played out of all of these. I was a little burnt out at that point.
That is true. We had played a lot of Mario Kart.
At that point, it felt like more of the same with this added hassle of trying to get the motion controls down.
That's exactly what it was.
And it was like, you know what? I just get it. We're fine. We don't need to play this anymore.
Yep.
We got like 6 races in, and we're like, all right, we're going to stop.
Yep. It's like, all right, it's just like every other Mario Kart. It's got motion control and sucks because of it.
Right.
That was the general takeaway.
Next up would technically, I believe, be Mario Kart 7 for the 3DS. I've played it. It's fine. There's not too much to say about it.
I have not played it. So.
It's very similar to Mario Kart DS.
Okay.
It's a lot of fun. The same Mario Kart thing. Nothing. There was hang gliders. That was their big addition in that one.
Which carries over.
But in my memory, nothing about the 3DS version of Mario Kart really stands out as noteworthy. Maybe we're incorrect. We did not play that one for this podcast. I just felt we should talk about it.
Yeah, that's fine.
So next up is Mario Kart 8.
The final one in the series.
The final one for now.
For now.
I'm sure.
No, there'll be more. I mean, it's the last one. It's the most recent one that's been released. I just want to say, just to kind of like start off the Mario Kart 8 discussion, the internet has gone bananas for Luigi.
It's wonderful.
I love it.
Death Stare Luigi. If you don't know what we're talking about, you must look it up. He is...
There's like animated GIFs. I'm sure there's YouTube videos of it. It is hilarious.
It's so funny.
He is a heartless bastard.
And Death Stare Luigi actually had a little cameo in the Nintendo press conference yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it was just a video of it when they were talking about Mario Kart 8, but the only footage they showed of Mario Kart 8 was slow motion Luigi giving the death stare. So that was pretty wonderful.
Yeah.
I absolutely love Mario Kart 8. I know, Dan... Well, I'm not going to speak for you. What's your opinion of it?
I think this might have been a little overhyped for me because of all the Luigi clamor on the internet. It was fine. The increasing frustration with this series is that as the games go on, it gets harder and harder to recover from errors and screw-ups that you have, found yourself in. Whether it's getting hit with power-ups or other stuff. I found it harder and harder to, if I was in first place and then messed up, I found it extremely difficult to get back to that place. And I found like there was a increasing like barrage of superpower stuff coming at me. Like starting with the N64, there are so few power-ups by comparison. I felt like in Double Dash that was probably the worst because you had double power-ups. But this one had quite a lot of power-ups as well, and I just found it so frustrating to spend like 2/3 of the map in first place, and then one thing happens, and then I'm screwed for the whole rest of the time. It's very just disheartening and frustrating. I got real angry playing this one.
It's sort of interesting. I don't totally agree with that point of view. The recovery time in Mario Kart 8 is ridiculous. If you get hit by a shell, it's like 10 seconds before you're going again.
And I felt like in this one more so, too, other people will keep hitting you more than I recall that happening in other games.
Right.
I felt like it was just like it's like, come on, guys, just let me get back into the action.
But the thing about Mario Kart 8 is I think that there's a stronger driving mechanic. And there's a greater variation in drivers. So
yeah, I would agree with that.
In Mario Kart 8, I'm in first, I get hit by a blue shell, I don't recover for 10 seconds, I'm now in fifth. If I drive really, really well, I still have a shot, I think. Going back to Mario Kart 64, I thought it was hyper item dependent. I would get hit by a shell, I go from first to third because the recovery time isn't as bad. But if I don't get a really good power-up, there is no way I'm going to win that because all the drivers feel and drive essentially the same. There's a little difference between Donkey Kong and Toad, but as a whole, all the drivers feel pretty much the same. Like, if I'm driving and Dan is driving in front of me, we're going to be driving the exact same speed. There is no real way for me to gain ground on Dan.
Mm-hmm.
So if I run over power-up and I get a banana when I need a mushroom, there is simply no way I'm going to win in Mario Kart 64. Whereas I feel in Mario Kart 8,
it's more skill-based.
It's more skill-based.
As opposed to luck-based.
If I hit every power slide, if I do a trick off of every jump, maximize every little speed boost I can get,
and snake through the level,
I can still win even if I get a banana instead of a turtle shell.
I think one of the things, and this sort of leads into the discussion about the power-ups, is so over the years they have added in more and more power-ups. I can't think of any that they've really taken away. I can only think of them adding some. They added, most recently, they added the Fire Flower. Is this the first one with the Fire Flower?
You know, I mean, I'm not the right person to ask. I don't know what iteration had
It's a
each
recent
one.
addition. If it wasn't in this game, it was recently.
This is the first time I remember having it.
The Boomerang is new to this one.
Yes.
Is Chomp new to this one?
Chomp is not in this one. Are you talking about the Piranha Flower?
Am I? Which one had Chomp?
That was Double Dash.
Okay. Yeah, I guess the Piranha Plant's new, though.
Yes.
So they keep... I guess they do take things away, because I guess they took Chomp away, I guess.
Yeah. I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. They add in powers, some that are a ton of fun over the years. Bullet Bill was a ton of fun. They keep really dumb ones, which I understand why they keep it, like banana peels. I understand that's a reference to Donkey Kong, and like that's why it's still there. I get that. But then they add in really stupid ones like the Boomerang, which either we are completely incompetent or it is the dumbest power-up in the world.
You can't hit anything with it.
I don't know what you're supposed to do with it. It just doesn't do anything. It just flips out and comes back, and there you go. You're done.
I guess if something is right in front of you, it can be beneficial, but I don't know. It's a crap power-up.
So it's a real mixed bag. I guess I felt like your power-ups were more useful in earlier games because there wasn't so much nonsense. Like there were more turtle shells. Like the ratio of like turtle shells and invincibility stars and like negative blocks. You know, I feel like those things, the ratio of like useful things to the fluff, like a banana, was more even. But now it's like a total, in Mario Kart 8, it's a total crapshoot. Like you could go from having, you know, a bullet bill or a coin, you know, or
right,
you know, other less useful powers, you know.
There is a chart. I flipped through the game guide at work. What position you are in highly dictates what power-ups you're going to get. So I think that might have negatively affected you in a little way because one or both of us was in first almost all the time. And when you're in first or second, your power-ups are crap. Like, you're never going to get a mushroom if you're in first. The most likely occurrence is a coin because you're in first. You don't need a power-up. And then a banana peel, and then a green shell, then a red shell, and then a horn, I think. Those are like the only 5 power-ups you're going to get when you're in first. So if you're in first all the time, you're going to think that
I hate that.
All the power-ups are the worst.
I mean, I guess I understand what they're doing. They're trying to make it fair. They're trying to like even the playing field.
Right.
But I want them to be random.
They aren't. And they never have been.
In any of them?
No. Mario Kart is notorious for its rubber banding mechanic. Part of it is just that computer players in the back will drive faster to keep up. And then also they are going to get better power-ups. They'll get a superstar in last place where you'll never get that in first place. Just so it can keep it dynamic.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It's just, as a player, it's really frustrating because you run over to get a power-up, and then you get a coin, and then like a second later, you get screwed up, and you end up in 6th place. And it's like, wow, I really could have used an actually helpful power-up there to recover, and now I'm screwed.
So my experience with Mario Kart 8. And this is going to be focused a little more on the single player, just because I actually bought Mario Kart 8 and I've been playing it a lot lately. I've experienced sheer joy playing Mario Kart 8. There's all these levels that are just really bright. We should mention this game looks awesome.
The levels are beautiful.
They're insanely beautiful.
The levels are beautiful. I mean, I will agree with you about your earlier point. The driving feels good.
It feels real good.
The jumps and the hang glider mechanics, like, those are fun. Like, the levels, for the most part, like, they make sense. You know where you need to go. Or it's just a zany, ridiculous thing and nobody knows where they're going. But it's like 90% of the game, for me, it's great. And I have no complaints about it.
But there were moments where I would, just pull off that perfect power slide into a jump. I'd, hit the jump button as you go off a ramp, do this little jump, get a bonus boost. I was almost giggling. Like, I was just a real legitimate smile would come on my face. And that's not anything I've experienced in a video game in a really long time. Like, when was the last time that you just felt awesome playing a game?
Probably the DS version of this. But before that, I mean, like, that was when I really noticed. I'm like, that was a fun game. I felt like a kid playing it.
Yeah.
Before that, probably not in a long time.
Not in a long time. Everything's so dreary nowadays.
Dark and serious.
There was just a fun, pure element to this game that spoke to me while I was playing Mario Kart 8. And it equates to another Nintendo thing. When you bought Mario Kart 8, I would not have bought Mario Kart 8 if they were not giving you this offer. They actually gave you a free digital game. And the games they were offering were really good. Pikmin 3, New Super Mario Brothers, some crap game I don't care about. And then what got me to buy it was they were giving you a digital copy of Wind Waker HD, which is a $50 game. So I pay $60 for Mario Kart, I get $110 worth of games. That's a pretty good deal. So at the same time I'm playing Mario Kart 8, I'm also playing Wind Waker HD. And that game also gave me that same feeling of just joy playing a game.
It feels like very immersive.
Yes.
You sort of get sucked into these some of these Nintendo games. You get sucked in,
and that speaks to the testament of Nintendo. They do so much wrong, but what they do right, they do really right.
Yeah.
I play video games every single day. Sometimes I don't even think about it, but it's almost more of a chore. I play League of Legends every night. I do it out of habit more than anything. It's like, all right, it's midnight. I'm going to play League for an hour. I go online, I play, I have a good time, I guess, whatever. I put in Wind Waker, and it's like, yeah!
It's kind of like us with, like, playing Battlefield. Like, all right,
yeah.
we'll play. What's nothing better to do? We'll play some Battlefield.
And you basically play Battlefield until you get annoyed.
Yeah,
and
until you get like too angry.
And then you just stop.
The rage level gets too high.
That's not what video games should be.
No. That's why I like Borderlands. It's like relaxing. It's calm.
That's true.
But then like there's funny moments and you just have a good time.
Borderlands might be the best example of the last time that I've just had sheer joy playing a video game.
Maybe Portal. The Portal series.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Those are funny games.
They are funny games, and you feel really good when you figure it out.
Yeah.
Like that aha moment in a portal room is just one of the best things, because you'll be standing there for like 20 minutes.
Like, what? And you sort of look up and look down and look around.
You're just spinning in a circle, seeing what a portal sticks to. You're like, plop, 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 plop. And then you just stop and stand there for a minute, and it's like...
Can I jump through this, or is this actually a horrible idea?
It's like, okay, I can do this. And then you get it, and then you fly across the room, and the exit's right in front of you. And you're like, holy crap, that was wonderful. That was a great feeling.
Yep.
That's how I feel playing Mario Kart 8. When I just navigate that turn at just the right moment, or avoid a Bowser fist about to crush me, it's like, this feels so good. And when I'm playing Wind Waker, the interaction between your Link and the spoiler alert, Tetra, who turns out to be Zelda, it's just so fun. It's so fun to watch. It's so fun to watch this little cartoon Link run around being like adventurous, and he's so expressive. I feel so good playing that game, and I felt so good playing Mario Kart 8. It actually disappointed me a little bit that you didn't enjoy it more.
Sorry.
No, it's not your fault. It was just like
the bar had been set pretty high.
I know. I was hyping it up pretty hard, and video games aren't the same for everybody. It's just I was getting so much excitement and fun out of it. I wanted to share that with somebody. So it's fine that you didn't enjoy it as much as I did, but I do just have to put it out there that if you don't have Mario Kart 8 yet and you have a Wii U, this is an actual reason to buy it, to turn your Wii U on again. I haven't played or bought a Wii U game since the day I bought it. So I'm very excited to not only have one but two really fun, wonderful games to play on it again. I actually turned this thing on. It still works after a year and a half, believe it or not.
So, two very important questions
Yeah.
as we start to wrap this up.
Hit me.
Okay. Number one, who would you recommend this game to? Or, I mean, specifically Mario Kart 8, but, I mean, because that's the ultimate focus of this one.
I legitimately believe that this is one of very few games that is made for everybody. I remember in college, I'm hoping this doesn't sound misogynistic or exclusionary or anything like that. I remember in college, there was a group of girls who lived in the apartment next to us, and they had Super Mario Kart in their dorm. They wanted to play that all the time. It was like, what are you doing? Nothing. You want to come over and play Mario Kart? Sure. Chicks love Mario Kart. We even convinced your girlfriend to play with us when we were playing Double Dash.
That's true.
Did you ever think that would happen?
Nope.
If I remember correctly, Mario Kart was the only game my ex-wife ever wanted to play with me. I've played with people over 60. I've played with kids. I've played with girls. I've played with boys. Everybody loves Mario Kart.
I've played it with babies.
Yeah, you just put a controller right in the crib with them. I just think that it's a fun game. Everybody can experience it. Everybody has a good time. It's the perfect party game. You can pick it up and play. There's in-depth mechanics for people like you and me. We can power slide till our heart's content. But at the end of the day, you get a blue shell and you're in last, and all of a sudden you're in second. That feels really good, and everybody can understand that. And it requires virtually no skill.
Yeah.
I mean, can you think of another game that...
This is a good game. It is easy to play. It's not so easy to master.
Yeah.
But it is very easy to play it.
Everybody can grasp the concept of go, turn, shoot, shell.
Yeah.
Some of us better than others, since you are obviously really good at these games. But I think this is one of maybe two games I can just recommend to everybody.
What's the other one?
I would say probably the original Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, that's a good one. Or it's Super Mario Brothers 3.
I would not go that one.
My mom played that one. She would stay up late at night after we'd gone to bed and play that, like in the dark in the basement.
I had that experience with Zelda. My mom killed Zelda. She beat it way before I did. She loved that game. And Dragon Warrior. Weird. The idea of my mom playing a video game now is just... that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But...
That's crazy talk.
So... Yeah, I just think this works for everybody. It's the perfect party game. It's a perfect game to play alone. Everybody gets it.
I think I would also agree with that. It's good with a group. It's good by yourself. It's good for everybody. Next question. This is an easy one because I already know your answer. Would you play the next installment in the series?
For sure.
Is there any reason that you would question getting another Mario Kart? Is there any like scenario, like Nintendo debacle scenario where you can...
Yeah. I can think of two reasons I would not get another Mario Kart. The first one being whatever console generation comes next for Nintendo. If it's more motion controls, I will not be purchasing it. I just don't want that system.
You've had enough of that?
Yeah, if they were like they had the Wii, they had the Wii U, now it's the Wii 2, and it's back to just like Wiimotes, no tablet or controller or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not signing up for that. The only other thing that I would say I would probably not buy it is if they went back to that double dash mechanic. I don't want to deal with the two drivers and double power-ups and all that jazz.
What if it's three drivers?
Oh, well, in that case...
And you've got people just hanging off all sides of your car like they're riding like a moped in India.
That could be kind of fun
That could be kind of fun.
Cool.
Here's a Mario Kart concept.
Trains.
You have a driver. So one person's responsible for driving. The other one is hanging off the back and responsible for effing up everybody else with power-ups and or just punching people that are next to you, like smacking them and stuff. Making it like a co-op on one cart sort of thing. That would be
That could be a lot of fun.
That could be a lot of fun.
Because
it's like your mission, drive now. And the other guy is like, it's time to go to town, boys.
That could be so much fun.
That could be a lot of fun.
All right, I would sign up for that. For sure. Just to quickly touch on it, do we want to talk about the battle system?
Sure.
I mean, there's not much to it. I really like the battle stuff in general.
Except in the DS where you have to blow up your balloons.
You have to blow into the mic to blow up the balloons, but it is so insanely imprecise.
Yeah.
And
I couldn't get it to work. I got it to work once, and I got half a balloon inflated and then couldn't get it to go anymore.
I don't know if we were doing it wrong or what. It took us a while to figure it out first. We just kept dying. We was like, why do we have one balloon, everybody has three?
Yeah.
But you had to blow into it, and the gist is you spend so much time blowing up balloons, they would just hit you anyway.
Yeah.
And then you'd have spit all over your stupid DS.
Yes.
It was awful. So in my brain, I always really loved the battle mode, but in every one we did, except for the Mario Kart 64 one, it turned out kind of crap.
Yeah, which is the one where there didn't appear to be like big open maps, and you were on a track. Which one was that?
That was Mario Kart 8. That was awful.
What the hell was that?
It reminded me of the old Destruction Derby games where two lines of racers would start at different points on the map and drive towards each other, which worked really well in Destruction Derby because the whole point was just smashing into stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It worked real crap in this when somebody would come flying at you with the turtle shell all of a sudden.
Yeah, or for whatever reason, you're both going the same direction on that map. I remember going around that track like 10 times without seeing anybody because it was just you and I.
Yeah.
Then I turned around. I attempted to turn around and got killed. I will say I really loved the DS map and the Mario Kart DS, where the whole map was just a big DS you were driving around on.
That's really fun.
That is fun.
I wish they had done that with everyone.
Yeah, every game should have a level where you're driving around on top of the system.
Which would be real interesting for the Wii U because it's just a black brick.
They could do something.
They could have done the tablet. That would have been fun.
We had a pretty good time on Mario Kart 64.
Yeah, for sure.
With the battle.
That was the most fun. It felt like GoldenEye with karts.
Yeah.
That was good. That was a good feel. I think that's all. That's all I have to say about the battle system, really.
Yeah, we'll just cut out all the middle ones.
Sure.
We hit 8. We hit the Wii U. We hit the N64. That's good enough.
That is good enough. Final thoughts?
Mario Kart has done an exceptional job. The series in general has done a really good job of maintaining that core of what makes it fun. The funness of the series. It's like every game has that. It's just they're iterations on a theme, and it's been relatively consistent. Like they try something new. They add in new powers or double dash, where they add in another person on your cart. They've done a pretty good job of staying with it. And like immediately when you play Mario Kart, if you have any experience with any of the other ones, you know exactly what to expect. Like there's some new things that are different. A couple of mechanics are different, but it's largely the same game. But they do it in a way where it's not a rehash. It's like you're enjoying it on the next generation of game console.
I feel like we should give Mario Kart some props also for creating an entire genre. The kart racer is a thing. And no company can go without creating a kart racer. No franchise can go without creating a kart racer.
If we didn't have Mario Kart, we wouldn't have Super Bombad Racing, or whatever that's called.
Thank God for that. Fingers crossed, Super Bombad Racing 2015.
Nice.
How come nobody announced that yesterday?
Well, LucasArts is down the toilet now, but who knows what Disney's going to come up with.
What would you say is your other favorite kart racer? Do you have one?
I don't know if I have one. Do you mean just general racing game or like a goofy kind of kart game?
I meant goofy, but why don't you give me your favorite racing game?
It's probably a toss-up between Project Gotham Racing for the Xbox, the original, and Need for Speed.
Really?
Wait. Need for Speed or Burnout?
Burnout.
Burnout. Those games are a lot of fun.
Yeah. Oh, interestingly enough, though, the people who made Burnout now do make the Need for Speed games.
Oh.
my favorite racing game of all time is definitely Burnout 3. It was a gorgeous game, so much fun to get the crashes and all that stuff. That game was wonderful. But I do just want to make one other recommendation, and surprisingly enough, for the Wii U. The Sonic All-Star Racing kart game is ridiculously good. Not quite as good as Mario Kart 8, but a lot of fun. And it's just like, it feels really fast, feels really good. So that's exciting. I would recommend, if you have a Wii U, pick up Sonic All-Star Racing. Plays Danica Patrick and Sonic.
Can you really?
Yeah.
That does sound like fun. And good for her for getting in a video game.
Well, look at what game they put her in.
That's fine.
Next week, we're finally doing it. Battlefield.
We're actually covering a lot of games with this, I think. Because I think I'm going to end up touching on Battlefield 1942. Mm-hmm. Then probably Battlefield 2 a little bit, if I can even remember anything about the game. Battlefield, 2142? And then the bad companies.
Yeah. I don't know how much time we're going to spend on each of those.
No, I mean, it'll be a mild retrospective. I think we'll probably touch on them a little bit, and then we'll move heavily into Battlefield 3 and 4 and Bad Company.
Yeah. I think primarily 3 and 4. That was our main experience.
Yeah.
Because I'd like to talk about Bad Company, but it's been so long. Who knows? I was real excited to talk about Battlefield when we planned this out, but we played the other day, and it was zero fun.
I still have very fond memories of 3. As angry as I got playing it, I have very fond memories. Like Grand Bazaar, that is probably the greatest multiplayer map that I've ever played in my life for anything. That rivals most Halo levels in my opinion. I could play that map all day long.
I would agree. But we'll talk about it next week.
We will.
So, thank you for listening. Player2pressstart.com is where you can find us. At killagreg.
At BogRod.
Those are our individual ones. And then you can find us together at Player2, PLAYRTWO. See you next week.
Thanks for listening. That's okay.
War of 1812.
Spanish-American War.
What happened in the Spanish-American War?
I don't know.
Is that where we got Texas?
Is the Spanish-American War different from the Mexican War of Independence? Are they related? I don't know. Wasn't the Spanish-American War like 1898 or something?
I thought that was like with the Alamo and stuff, right?
I think that was way earlier.
Was it?
You know what? I don't know.
That's okay. I'll Google it later.